Avatar is a truly phenomenal film that changed cinematography in its time. James Cameron's picture broke all world records at the box office. It showed us almost unlimited 3D opportunities and became a breakthrough in the field of special effects. Of course, there were disputes about the hidden meanings that the author put into that film. What kinds of theories were not invented by the audience? Today on About Movies, we will tell you what philosophical ideas and messages can be seen in Avatar. How did the strategy of September 11th affect its plot? Is there really plagiarism in Cameron's film? And what does the Na'vi people have to do with the indigenous population of America? Get comfortable, and we'll figure it out now. At the end of 2009, the film was proclaimed a new word in the history of cinema. Just as the world was shocked by the appearance of color and sound in cinema at the time, Cameron's visual decision changed the direction of filmmaking. The director created a fantastically bright, but at the same time authentic world completely drawn on a computer. The motion capture technology that Cameron used would be actively used later for fantasy filming, and 3D movies would become as usual as 2D. But for passion for technology, Cameron is criticized. The director makes a movie as an attraction, presenting the audience with a simple and even secondary plot in a complex technical package. Because of Avatar, he has been accused of plagiarism. But it should be remembered that Cameron is the director of the end of postmodernism, which is characterized by constant quoting. Cameron uses already existing plots as a foundation for his statement, due to which it sounds more convincing and louder.
My daughter will teach you our ways. Learn well. Jake Sully.
The film takes place in the year 2154 on the planet Pandora, where people extract a valuable mineral, unobtainium. Humanity has almost exhausted the resources of Earth because of overpopulation. Because of the poisonous atmosphere, people can only go to the surface of Pandora using special artificial bodies, avatars. They repeat the appearance of the indigenous population, the Na'vi, 3-meter blue creatures. Avatars are very expensive, and only those whose DNA was used to create an artificial body can use them. So after the death of a twin brother, a paralyzed Marine, Jake Sully, replaces him in a mission to extract valuable minerals. Jake gets on Pandora and falls in love with the huntress Neytiri. She introduces him to one of the Na'vi tribes and tells him about the laws by which they live and about the secrets of Pandora. Cameron tells the canonical story of Pocahontas and the Englishman John Smith in a new way. In 1607, John Smith, one of the founders of the English colony in the territory of modern Virginia, was caught by Indians and was going to be killed. He was saved by the 12-year-old daughter of the tribal leader. Smith learned about the culture of the Aborigines with the help of Pocahontas. It helped to improve the relations of the colonists with the Indians. But in the original source, Smith returned to England and Pocahontas had to marry another colonist to preserve a fragile peace. In Avatar, the main character stays with his beloved, renouncing his origin.
The Na'vi say that every person is born twice.
James Cameron does not hide that he made a film full of political and anti-militarist statements. On the one hand, we see an allusion to the US invasion of Iraq, Vietnam, and Afghanistan. Cameron draws an obvious parallel. In the 17th century, the colonists brought down on Indians the power of their weapons because of gold. At the end of the 20th century, Americans came to the Middle East, but at that time because of oil. In the film, Earthlings were interested in unobtainium. It is no coincidence that the appearance of the Na'vi is so similar to the stereotypical ideas about Indians. Thus, Cameron criticizes US policy. That position was very popular in the 2000s. So many expected that Avatar would win an Oscar in the Best Film category. Cameron then lost to his ex-wife, Kathryn Bigelow, and her film The Hurt Locker, with a similar theme about the sappers in Iraq. Cameron was also influenced by the main event in recent history of the United States, the terrorist attack on September 11, 2001, which was the largest one in history in terms of the number of victims. In the film, the scene of the chopping down of the Tree of Souls looked like terrible shots with the destruction of the Twin Towers. Many political scientists and cultural scientists call the September 11th terrorist attacks the beginning of a new era of meta-modernism. The tragedy showed human helplessness, and security has become the main value of our time. The events of September 11th showed that the problems of colonial optics, racism, and nationalism were much deeper than the consequences of US foreign policy. Cameron understood that too. Interestingly, what topics will he raise in the Avatar sequel? Tell us in the comments. Are you waiting for the release of the new part, and what do you want to see in it? We read everything and like the most interesting ones.
Jake! Come on back, kid.
What is a human being? It's a fundamental question of philosophy. Let us recall the famous dispute between Plato and Diogenes. Plato said, "A man is a two-legged animal without feathers." In response, Diogenes plucked a rooster and said to Plato, "Here is your man." Then Plato expanded his definition and said, "It is a featherless biped's animal with flat nails." Aristotle gave that option. Man is a political animal. Only free men had political rights in the Greek polis. Women, slaves, and foreigners did not have them, which meant at that time they were considered not quite human. That was, they did not have subjectivity. That was how the division into "I am a person" and "another not quite a person" appeared.
You already have. You give me good, usable intel. Oh, this tree is Soul's place.
The differences intensified in the era of great geographical discoveries. Rationalism prevailed in the philosophy of the time. René Descartes proclaimed his famous cogito ergo sum, that meant "I think, therefore I am." The Europeans discovered new lands, met other indigenous peoples of those territories there. The Europeans asked themselves, "Are these people the same as us, do you think?" In the view of Europeans at that time, the sign of thinking was the presence of science. But the indigenous peoples did not have science, so they could not become equal subjects. It was an ethical justification for genocide, slavery, and plundering of resources.
Damn, they got big.
Yeah, they fully mature on the flight out.
In the same way, the people from the film who decided to exterminate the Na'vi for profit justified themselves. They disdained the locals, considering them underdeveloped, and laughing at the traditions of the Na'vi. But who turns out to be wiser and happier in the end? Those who endlessly chase money, demolishing everything in their path, or those who live in unity with themselves and nature? Cameron put the word avatar in the title of the film. In modern philosophy, the term avatar is associated with the idea of the death of the subject, the philosophical thought of the 20th century. It is connected with the crisis of European humanism and anthropocentrism. That is, the idea that a person is a special being. The good of man becomes the main goal of life of the entire universe. Let us recall Protagoras' thesis that the man is the measure of all things. But in colonial logic, not every person was considered fully human. Friedrich Nietzsche was the first to predict the death of man, that was the rejection of anthropocentrism. His idea of a Superman would replace both God and man changed the direction of philosophical thought. After that, there were the events of 2 world wars. They questioned the very idea of human exclusivity and rationality as an indisputable good. Was human rationality, which was praised by the philosophers of modern times, so good if its peak was a nuclear bomb capable of destroying all of humanity?
Looks like him.
The global environmental crisis, the threat of international terrorism, the development of biomedicine led to a revision of ideas about man by the beginning of the 21st century. The development of technology has allowed us to expand the boundaries of our existence, not only in the real world, but also in the virtual. For example, a person has a page on social networks. This is his digital avatar page. An avatar can be even better than a real person. Cameron's avatars perform the same functions. In the earthly reality, Jake is confined to a wheelchair, and in the body of a strong Na'vi, he is healthy and loved, and he chooses to continue his existence as an avatar. They often talk about environmental issues, analyzing Avatar. And again, Cameron is criticized for the lack of novelty. They say the director showed that cutting down trees and harming nature was bad, but the environmental problems of Avatar are different. Cameron, who made a name for technical innovations, says in his films that technology is a new threat to humanity. This motif is in both The Terminator and Aliens. Avatar begins with views of the American city of the future, and we see a classic picture from cyberpunk, a genre where the decline of human culture is taking place against the background of technological progress. In philosophy, there is an idea that technology is a natural extension of the human body. Man is a rather weak animal, and he compensates for this with the help of equipment and weapons. So the American sociologist and philosopher Marshall McLuhan, a representative of techno-optimism, believed that a gun was a natural extension of the human eye. That was why rifling weapons appeared in those cultures where people could read and write. Man uses technology to gain the upper hand over nature, to begin to control it. Cameron believes that this aspiration is the main negative consequence of human rationality. Using technology makes a person weaker. So after the Avatar, Jake loses weight and because of that literally disappears before our eyes.
And each tree has 10 to the 4th connections to the trees around it. And there are 10 to the 12th trees on Pandora.
Cameron contrasts the rationality of Earthlings with Na'vi's worldview. The Na'vi avoid the use of technology, listen to the signs and signals of nature. They do not try to control natural processes, but use the help of natural force. The Na'vi are carriers of mythological consciousness. Mythological consciousness is not aimed at achieving and proving the truth. Na'vi doesn't matter what laws Awa works by, why mountains soar in the air. They are one with nature and don't try to subdue it. The main force that is able to resist the destructive power of the mind in the Avatar is the soul. So Neytiri knows that Jake is technically an Avatar, representatives of others, outsiders, and invaders. But she doesn't pay attention to it and still loves him. By the way, the fact that the main character is a person with physical characteristics is also not accidental. The author decided to show that the human body is just a membrane. It may be broken, but the main thing is inside of you. It's a strong spirit, a brave heart. By the way, in the Na'vi language, the highest expression of love is not a phrase, "I love you," but "I see you." Neytiri sees his soul, and it doesn't matter whether he is a man or a Na'vi. The main thing is that his soul remains pure. In this way, James Cameron not only shows the incredibly beautiful world of Pandora, but also offers his vision of a man of the 21st century. The main thing in it is not the mind, but the soul. We're watching with interest how the cult film turns into an entire franchise, and we hope that new, no less interesting and profound ideas will be raised in the Avatar sequels. And while Cameron is shooting another movie, you can click on this icon that appeared on your screen to better understand the cinema and the hidden meanings of your favorite movies and TV shows. In our video, you will surely find something that you didn't know before. And don't forget to like this video. And that's all for today. It was About Movies. See you very soon. Bye.